What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living in Freetown, Sierra Leone. And if you want to know what my first week, if you want to know what 1 week in the Gambia was like for me, then this is the video for you. All right. We are live. We're live, and we're trying to go live on Instagram too. It has been a crazy day, guys. I just got power back like 10 minutes ago. I'm back in Sierra Leone. I was in the Gambia until late last night, and I'm trying to get myself situated and get back online. So forgive me for the lateness. I am a little bit late today. I think I'm about 2 minutes late, but we're here. Man, West Africa is a place that you need to adjust for sure. All right, so those of us who are joining on Instagram, we are talking about my week in the Gambia. I just came back last night. I got a lot to talk to you guys about. It was a really good trip. I'm going to take you through the trip, what it was like, some of the differences that I saw between the Gambia and Sierra Leone and Ghana, what I liked about it, what I didn't like, and just take you through like day by day what the trip was like, and then talk to you a little bit about the company who sponsored the trip. But before we get into everything, I need to know, can you guys hear me? Let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me. Before we got started, Menelik was here. He said, "What's up, bro? Good evening to you. What's up? What's up?" Okay, Menelik says he can hear me loud and clear. Mimi Roberts says, "Hey." Those of you who are watching on Instagram, give me a thumbs up so I know that you guys can hear me on Instagram. There's a couple of requests to go live with me. I'm not going to go live right this second with you guys, but stay on. We can definitely go live at the end. And if you guys want to see what I'm going to be presenting on screen, I'm going to show some video. I'm going to share with you guys some footage, some behind the scenes footage of my trip to the Gambia. So if you want to see that, just go to my profile on Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram, you can go to my profile on Instagram, click on the link in my profile, and it's the first link at the top that says join me live now on YouTube, so that you can see what I'm going to be presenting on screen, because I got some things to present for sure. I think you guys might find it interesting, and I just want to make sure you guys are able to see that. So I'll give you guys a second. If those of you who are joining from Instagram, again, if you want to watch live what I'm presenting on screen, you want to see some of the video that I'll be sharing, jump over to the profile link in my description. Click on the top link that says join me on YouTube right now, and that'll take you directly to this live so that you can watch live, so you can see what's on the screen and you can see the comments in real time. Mimi's asking, did you visit the Black Acres? I did not visit the Black Acres, but I did go a lot of places. So I went with Visit Sierra Leone. They brought me along as an influencer or brand ambassador. I don't know what you call it these days, because I'm still new to this stuff. But I came along to film the experience. And so it was a really good experience. I will say Visit Sierra Leone, and in partnership with Jay Glitz there locally, did a really good job of curating this trip. I did not know what to expect, but I am pleasantly surprised. It was really good. So those of you who haven't been to the Gambia yet, I definitely recommend going. It is a game-changing experience for sure. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it for sure. Okay, cool. So we're gonna get into some of this. I know prowoman has a comment here. I'll get to your comment in just a second. All right, so let's get into the presentation. Let's just go live now. I've been waiting long enough. Enough of you have joined, so we can get this thing going. Really quickly, I think just before we get started, I do want to get through some housekeeping, and then we'll jump over to some details about Visit Sierra Leone, the company that took me, before we get into the trip, because I do want you guys to know who they are and what they're about, because they're the reason that I went in the first place. And so, you know, without knowing who they are, it's kind of hard and kind of difficult to get an idea of who brought me there. So I am going to pull up their site right now, and I will kind of go through who they are. But before I do that, let me just get some housekeeping out of the way, because there are some questions about why I'm going live on a Tuesday, first of all, because I usually go live on Mondays. So this is new. So we'll go through that first. and then we'll talk through the trip, and we'll talk a little bit about the company Visit Sierra Leone. So before we talk about the company, let's just get into some housekeeping. So let's see. All right, let me know if you guys can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Let me add it to the stream. Let's try that again. All right, can you guys see my screen? Let me know if you're on YouTube. Can you see my screen? If you're watching on Instagram, you won't be able to see my screen. You're gonna have to click on the link in my profile in the description, and that'll take you over to, well, you'll see a link there at the top that says join me on YouTube live now. Click on that and that'll bring you to the live. Okay, everyone says they can see it. What's up, Spear Warrior? All right, cool. So let's go through my week in the Gambia really quickly. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about some things. So as you guys know, last week I went live on Tuesday instead of on Monday, because last week Monday was a travel day to go to the Gambia. We got there late night on Monday, so I wasn't able to go live at my normal time on Monday at 9 p.m. GMT. So I went live on Tuesday. That was June 27th. And then, of course, today, July 4th, which happens to be American Independence Day. Some of you are celebrating, which I expected that maybe this live would be a little bit light because some of you guys might be celebrating. So hopefully you guys are watching the replay and you guys are getting all the information. I never really celebrated American Independence Day that much. You know, Juneteenth is kind of a little bit more about where, even though some people say you shouldn't celebrate it, it's kind of where more I stood in the last couple of years. But in the event that somebody was doing something, I'd still go watch fireworks, etc. But I understand it is a national holiday in the United States. So today we're going to talk about my experience in the Gambia, which I told you guys last week that I was going to talk about. And yesterday, of course, was a travel day, so I wasn't able to talk about it. So next Monday, I am going live with Kia Wakesho Simmons. She is the founder and CEO of Traverze Culture. And we're going to talk about what her and her group is calling Afrocentric regenerative travel. And that's specifically going to be the trip to Kenya that we've talked about. I mentioned it previously. I'm going to preview it and talk about it in detail next Monday. So we're going to talk about the trip to Kenya. I'm going to be in Kenya from December 28th. December 28th through January 8th. December 28th of 2023 through January 8th of 2024. And I'll be with this group, Traverze Culture. And it's going to be a really interesting trip. And we're going to talk to Kia Wakesho about everything pertaining to that trip and why it's going to be important, why we're all going to be there, and why I recommend you guys come with us on this trip. But we'll talk about that then. So we are going to be back to Mondays starting next week, Monday. But of course, this week I was traveling, so that's why we are live today. So I just wanted to give you that update. So a little bit of housekeeping there. And then next, here are all the videos that are coming up. So prowoman is saying, I just want to get her comment really quickly because she obviously watched Sunday's video. She said, waving, hey, that party was giving African classy all day. You definitely looked like you belonged. Hugs, what's up, prowoman? I appreciate it. So on Sunday, which is 3 days ago or 2 days ago, I posted the vlog for all the parties that I discussed with Shaka Stevens the previous Sunday. And then on Thursday, we talked about what he's doing with trying to bring like Dubai to Africa, basically, and building out Chevreau Island here in Sierra Leone. And then Sunday capped it off with the parties that he also throws. So if you notice that I do these 3 major days are the days that I post videos. And then I also obviously go live on Mondays, sometimes Tuesdays. But in between the Sundays and Thursdays are clips from the longer videos. In case you didn't watch the full video, or in case you logged on another day and you didn't get a chance to see it, you get a clip and that'll redirect you back to the main video. So that's the goal, is to get you to watch the main video and you'll get clips from that. But yeah, so on Thursday of this week at 6 p.m. GMT, I am going to be posting my interview with Hectoria Cargbo. She was a chairlady of Bambade. I'm always pronouncing it incorrectly because my American accent, but basically it means like it was the biggest concert in history in Sierra Leone. Some estimates upwards of 40,000 people on one day, and then another, I don't know how many, 15 to 20,000 people on the other day to see Ira Star and Ruger. If you don't know who they are, just Google their names. They're huge artists. I just posted something on the Instagram page about Iris Star. Iris Star is kind of if you guys know who Thames is, then you should know who Iris Star is. She's another up and coming artist, hugely popular on the continent. Just now, kind of breaking through internationally. She's on the record label Maven Records, and then Ruger is best known for I guess his song Dior. Maybe Dior's probably his or maybe another song Girlfriend. I think he has another song Snapchat. Anyway, very popular artist from Nigeria, came to Sierra Leone, shut it down. Amazing performances. So we're going to talk to Victoria about the story behind it, and then on Sunday you're going to see the vlog of the experience going to the concert. So so last Sunday was a party, and all the parties that were happening. This coming Sunday is going to be a vlog of the concerts that you might see in Sierra Leone. So these are the things that you guys may not be familiar with, but that happen here, and we want to make sure that you're aware of it. I will say that concert with Iris Star and Ruger reminded me a lot of like Afro Nation, Afrochella on a smaller scale. Obviously, with these two headlining instead of like maybe Burna Boy or Davido. But I would definitely recommend you watch these videos because it puts a whole new perspective on what concerts can look like in a country like Sierra Leone. So I definitely recommend you watch these videos. I'm excited to share them with you. It took a lot to edit them and get them out. So I want to make sure you guys know about them and you guys do watch along as I do. So I'm going to be premiering them both. I'll be watching them live with you, and I'll be answering questions as we go along. All right, cool. Now, so that's it with what's going to be coming this week. So again, next Monday, Wakesho or Kia, I'm going to be interviewing her, and we're going to talk about the trip to Kenya. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that next Monday. This last Sunday was the capping off of the discussion with Shaka and the ballin parties and the Thoa party. As you can see here from the thumbnail, the parties are pretty lit. There's a lot going on, and I think you guys would enjoy it if you're in the country, and it's something different for everyone, right? Thoa is maybe for those of you who like house music, because it's called the House of Africa, so it's house music. That's on the far right in this image here, you see. You have Ballin' Africana, where you have African print clothes. You have the Gala Night, which I really enjoyed. That one, this one specifically was Ballin' Over 30, so those of us who are a little bit more advanced in age, over 30 years old, that was a party. And then, of course, the original Ball and Spray party, which I did go to a number of times. It's definitely a fun party. It's a wild one. If you're ever here in the country during that time, I definitely recommend going. All right, cool. All right, so a couple different comments that I want to get to. Let's see. King Joseph said, "Greetings, bro. I'm checking in from LA. Peace and blessing. Happy Wednesdays. Today I honor my ancestors." Nice. Today's it's Tuesday though, right? Tell me. It's definitely Tuesday. Let me know it's Tuesday if I'm not mistaken. Okay. King Joseph says, "Oh, it's another message. Greetings, bro. I'm checking in. Okay, don't celebrate the 4th of July. I'm a Juneteenth guy. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Peace and blessings." Okay, he corrected it. Okay, cool. Got it. All right, cool. So we're going to get into the presentation. We're going to talk about what this last week was. Of course, as always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Share this with people who you know who might want to visit the Gambia. Now, I will say, I was in the Gambia for a week. I shot a lot of content because I was there for work. So it was the first time I was ever brought somewhere with an organization. I'm going to be doing it again with Tanzania and Kenya, which we'll be talking about at a later date next weekend, namely for Kenya, and then Tanzania will be at another time. But it was a really amazing experience, shot a lot of content. And so I'm just going to basically give you an overview of what the week was like before we jump into really everything pertaining to, what do I want to say? Pertaining to, yeah, so I want to show you what the week was like but before I do that, let me first present, I want to stop sharing here, and I want to share with you a little bit about the company that brought me there. Guys, it has been a wild 24 hours. Let me tell you something. I lost electricity and light literally 1 hour before I was supposed to go live. And I'm in the middle of updating this presentation, putting everything together and unpacking and just getting settled back in here in Sierra Leone. and it was aggressive. It was aggressive. Just know that it was an aggressive 24 hours and the last hour or so trying to prepare to go live. So forgive me if I'm a little bit unorganized for this live because it was a really wild last 24 hours. All right, cool. So let me go ahead and share my screen again so you can learn a little bit more about the company that brought me to the Gambia, and so you can see what they're up to. So Visit Sierra Leone, or VSL Travel, has a number of different things that they do. So and you can see here some of the things that they do, right? They do Buns Island tours. They do tours of other islands. They do beach hopping around the peninsula. They do booking of hotels. They do booking of your flights. They have many services, right? They have airport transfer services. They can do visa facilitation, vehicle rental, hotel reservation, flight booking, as I mentioned, work and residential permits. They can do your passport renewal. They handle your ship across the water, booking through them. They give you all the times for all the travel of all the Seacoast, Seabird, Aberdeen water taxi. You get all of that through them. They are really good at what they do. I'm partnering with them in many different ways, but this tells you where they can help you book around the country. So you have the Southern Province, which is mostly Bo. You have the Northern Province in Freetown, where they can help you book, which is here on the peninsula, and then obviously Freetown proper. There's just a lot that they do. They also do real estate as well. So they can also help you with buying and selling of your home. So they do real estate as well. So they do a little bit of everything. So I'm going to be partnering with them because we have a lot of synergy in terms of what we do. But they have it right here on their site. You know, you can search by different things. You can find a property that you want to rent or purchase. These prices are yearly prices. But yeah, I mean, you can rent a shop, you can rent a house. There's so many listings here. And also, I want to take you back, sorry, because that's VSL property. So I want to take you back to their main site so that we can talk about planning a trip. So they have information about Sierra Leone, and then they have so many different trips. So they went to Guinea earlier this year. They just went to Gambia. They're working on Liberia, and they're going to be doing Ivory Coast. They're going to be doing Senegal as well. So there's a number of different countries that they can take you to, mostly leaving from Sierra Leone and going to these different countries. But they did a really good job of partnering with people locally to ensure that they maximize the trip, right? So you get the most out of it. I definitely recommend, if you're coming to the country, you sign up for one of their trips. If you're in the country while they're doing it, you will not regret it. I'm telling you for real. Seriously. Like, this is not just like me doing it because I have a partnership with them. I would not partner with them if I didn't believe in what they do. And after going to the Gambia, I definitely would recommend any trips that they do if you're in the country, going on a trip with them, for sure. Whether it's something locally, like going to Sugarloaf, going on a hike at Sugarloaf, or any one of the local excursions that they do, or if it's leaving the country as well. I mean, I definitely recommend it. So with that, let's get back to the presentation. A couple things. So King Joseph was asking how my visit to the Gambia was. I'm going to go through that in a second. So let's pull it up on screen. So I'm going to go through each one of the days. Well, first thing, let me just tell you this. The Gambia. What can I say? You know, it's definitely a small country population-wise, and even location-wise. It's the smallest country on mainland West Africa. I think there's a maximum of 3 million people in the country, and it mostly is surrounded. It's mostly like one main road, and then everything is kind of offshoots of that main road for the most part. There are obviously islands off the coast, like Kinteh Island, which we went to, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But their history is rich and storied, connected to roots with Alex Haley and so many other things, which is why the island is called Kinteh Island. So we'll talk about that in a second. But they have a really interesting history. They are situated right in the middle of Senegal, which is interesting. Let me pull up the presentation. I'll just at least share my screen. I had never been before, and now I plan on going back. I met a lot of interesting people. The trip was awesome too, by the way. I had a really good crew of people, funny people, a lot of laughter for sure. Yeah, you guys, like these trips, you never know who you're gonna meet on these kinds of trips. And I would say this trip was full of excitement and laughter and great conversation. I for sure recommend it to anyone. In this picture, you can't really see it, but all around the Gambia, the space, this white space that's around here is where Senegal surrounds the country of the Gambia. So the Gambia actually is situated like surrounded completely by Senegal. And then on one end of it is the Atlantic Ocean. So these beaches here go out to the Atlantic Ocean. But yeah, I will tell you one of my best trips so far in West Africa. Even though it was only a week, it was a great trip, great people, and I learned a lot. So King Joseph said I was in the Gambia a few years ago. Had an amazing time. Nice. We're gonna go through it. We're gonna go through it because I got some stuff for you guys. So first day was the arrival. We got there late Monday night. I couldn't go live because by the time we got there and landing and everything ended up being like 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that by the time we got checked in and everything. So we kind of just went, we checked in and went straight to sleep. The next day we went to the capital city, Banjul. We stopped by Arch 22, which is a historical landmark. It was built in 1996 after a military coup, and we'll talk about that in a second. And the next stop was the National Museum, home of historical documents and it displayed cultural and political history of Gambia. So let me tell you guys a little bit about the history of Gambia. Country gained its independence a little over 50-something years ago or 60-something years ago. And that person who was president stayed president for an extended period of time. He was overthrown by a military coup, and the person he was overthrown by was probably one of the most vicious rulers in West African history, according to the people of the Gambia. He did not tolerate any disrespect or any discussions about him in any way. He stayed in power for 20-something years or almost 30 years. I can't even remember the exact amount of time, but he's in power for a minute. And he ruled with an iron fist. He was a military ruler, and he just was dethroned or unseated just a few years ago, within the last 10 years. So a lot of people died during his reign. People lost life, family members, all kinds of different things. It was a really interesting history. Was not aware of a country just this close by. But I will say there were a lot of Sierra Leoneans in the Gambia, which was really cool. Because it's Sierra Leone civil war, many people actually went to the Gambia when they left the country, especially those who didn't have the ability to go to the US or the UK or Europe, and they had to find another place to go. So many of them actually migrated to the Gambia. And so you meet people there who speak Creole and who actually had kids there, and their kids speak Creole, right? I met some folks there in their early 20s, 23-year-old guy who had been to Sierra Leone twice, but he was born and raised in the Gambia, and he speaks Creole, but then he also speaks Wolof, which is the language of, the major language that is spoken in the Gambia. And a lot of people in Senegal speak Wolof as well. So that was a really interesting to get like the history of the Gambia and where we are today. I am in this picture. Yeah. So there you go. You see me there. It was an interesting crew, a really fun crew for sure. All right. So the next day was a holiday. So I will say this, the Gambia is a Muslim majority country. So at least 70 I think it's almost 90% of the folks, don't get me to getting percentages wrong, but the folks there are Muslim or practice Islam. And so that day we didn't really have anything to do in terms of going out to different places, but we did go to the Tamala Resort and Hotel for lunch. And I did go horseback riding because, of course, if it's available, why not do it? It's great for content and it's a good experience. So I went horseback riding on the beach. So I have video of all of this, by the way. All of this is going to be vlogged. There's going to be plenty of video of this. I'm going to share this with you guys for sure. But yeah, I would definitely recommend if you ever go to the Gambia, go to Tamala Hotel on the beach there and go horseback riding, because they usually just sit outside of that beach. You know, one of the things I'll mention, one of the differences between the Gambia and Sierra Leone, one of the biggest challenges I have with living on the continent is Europeans or Eastern Europeans or Western Europeans or Westerners coming to the continent and dating, let's say, very young Africans. Um, I've seen it in Ghana, I've seen it in Sierra Leone, I've seen it in Nigeria, where you have older Europeans, men, dating young African guys in their early 20s, sorry, young African girls in their early 20s, sometimes in their teens. And to me, that's always disturbing. Don't really like it at all. Not a fan of it. And I don't know. It's just something about it rubs me the wrong way, and maybe it does for you too. Um, Interestingly enough, Gambia has kind of the opposite problem. You have older European or Western women dating young African men in many instances, which is different than what I had seen previously. But it's become a thing there. Many divorcees, you know, maybe living off the alimony of their ex, or even if they're on funding, and they go to Africa to find a young, energetic man to give life to them, I will say. And I saw it pretty frequently at the resort I was at, and at the resort I went to, the resorts that I went to do tours and or to eat lunch. Um, I don't know. That also rubbed me the wrong way. But I mean, you know, this is just the way of the world and the way it is. And if we want to change that, we need to change the situation in our countries in order to give people opportunities so they don't end up with folks like these. Because to me, I, you know, even if they're well intentioned, which I believe many are not, um, it still is. It still instills the wrong belief systems in folks. It perpetuates the idea of, you know, the people from the West is here to save you. They're here to save you. And really, most of the time, they sell people a dream. I know a young lady who was convinced this guy that was working at the embassy was going to give her a passport, her daughter and her sister passports, and not only passports, a job at the embassy, and also American citizenship. And of course, he was not here for a long time. He was here for a good time, and he took full advantage of her, of course, and he did not follow through with any of those things. In fact, he disappeared, which is what happens pretty frequently here. So I just wanted to say that kind of happens here, but then it's the reverse with older European or Western women with younger African men in the Gambia. And it was strange to see, but it was something that I recognized and noticed. But I want to share that with you guys because you may see that if you go to any one of these resorts there. And so I don't want you to be shocked because it happens frequently. Couple of comments. Pro-woman JC, Gambia is like a country within a country. British carved it out from the French. Right, exactly. It was a British colony within what was a French colony of Senegal, which is why they speak English in the Gambia versus speaking French, which is what Senegal mostly speaks. I think Mimi is responding to the story I was just telling. There are many stories like that, many worse ones that I don't want to get into because we're talking about the Gambia on this video, on this live. But yeah, for sure, there are many crazy stories that I've now encountered and heard because of my time here on the continent. All right, so anyway, that was day 2. So day 3, we went to Kunta Kinteh Island, and this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's the home of these ruins, which was an enslaved African castle where basically they practice human trafficking, right? One of the things that our tour guide wanted us to focus on, which I really think is important, is, and this is something they talk about in Ghana, is it's not slaves, it's enslaved Africans, number one. But he took it a step further and called it human trafficking. Because if you are calling these African slaves, most of which who were free folks who were living their regular lives, who had become enslaved, if you call them slaves, that would indicate that they were born into slavery, and most of them were not, including Kunta Kinteh himself, who was a warrior who actually fought against the British and the French. Unfortunately, he was taken captive, as you all know, taken to the Americas. If you guys ever saw the movie Roots or you read the book, Alex Haley traced back his lineage. He first went to Ghana. They told him about a village in the Gambia. He went to the Gambia and found out where he was from. That family of Kunta Kinteh, further down the line, did not ever know what happened to him until Alex Haley went and told them, because they had heard about this ancestor of theirs, right? The story had been passed down of this ancestor of theirs, and they didn't know what happened to him, right? One day he disappeared. And so, they presumed that he probably had gone into the slave trade. But I think when Alex Haley went back, he kind of gave them the story and told them about his family lineage and what happened there. It's a really interesting story. It kind of gives you a full, well-rounded story of what happened. But the interesting thing is the island used to be called James Island, and it was renamed to Kunta Kinteh Island. From all people, the recommendation came from Jermaine Jackson, which is the eldest brother of the late Michael Jackson. He went to the Gambia in 2011, and while there, he went on some tours, met some people, and he made the recommendation to rename James Island to Kunta Kinteh Island, which they did. So we went there to see these ruins of this castle, and really got the history of some of the folks locally. There, I also met a young guy of Sierra Leonean descent who had been for the first time to Kunta Kinteh Island, and we really got a chance to chop it up and hear like what it's like for him being a Sierra Leonean but born and raised in the Gambia, much like I'm Sierra Leonean but born and raised in the United States. But both my parents are both born and raised in Sierra Leone, and so this guy was the same way. And so just to kind of hear the parallels in our story, but then also the differences, obviously, and what his experience has been like, it was really interesting to talk to someone who speaks Creole, speaks Wolof, so he's kind of like that merger of the two cultures, someone who speaks Creole in his house because his mother doesn't speak Wolof, so he only speaks Creole to her, but then outside in the outside world, he speaks Wolof when, in his day-to-day experiences. And then also English, of course, which is what we communicated in, and a little bit of Creole as well. But I interviewed him, and his story was interesting. So that's a little bit about the Kunta Kinteh Island experience there. We took a ferry ride, by the way. So you take a ferry ride to from Banjul to Bara, and then from there, we took a boat to Kunta Kinteh Island. And so there's a lot of time spent on water on this trip, by the way. So the next day we went to Makasutu Ecotourism Reserve. I don't have any pictures of that here, and don't worry, we'll have a whole live about that. But I do have, so that was really good. We went on a cruise on the Mangrove Creek. We got a chance to hear kind of the history of this area. There's some floating bungalows there. So it was really cool. We saw some baboons there. That was crazy. These baboons, man, they get up close and personal and near you. I have some footage of that, which I'll do a vlog on later. Wild. Baboons. Don't mess with those things. Do not make eye contact with the baboons. I'll tell you that. So yeah. So this is something that I've heard pretty a ton recently, going back to the Kunta Kinteh story. Mr.Kk said news came out that Alex Haley's story wasn't really his. It was plagiarized, but the story still needed to be told, and it was someone else's with some fiction for TV. Yeah, I do know about the fiction for TV piece. And I do know that there have been some talks about whether or not the Kunta Kinteh story is real or not. These are some things that I think of, there's some revisionist history here. Obviously, it's really hard to know all the details of everything that happened going back that far, right? And a lot of what you're going to get is going to be oral history from different people who are passing stories down from generation to generation, right? So there are going to be some changes, right? If you ever played the telephone game in kindergarten, right? By the time it gets to the fifth person, it's a completely different phrase or term that is said. So, I mean, that's just how it works. This is how things work. But the way I understand it, it was absolutely a true story of some sort, the overall story, even if this story in particular about Kunta Kinteh, from Alex Haley, is not his true story. Okay, cool. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, Mr.Kk. All right, so on Friday night, through the recommendation of a friend of mine who was in the Gambia the week before I was, we went to Rio's, which is it's a lounge and sports bar. It's a nice place to kind of start, where like if you want to go out then that night, you start with Rio's, and you can sit outside and eat outside, or you can go inside where it's really more of a party where you can get a table. It's really like club-like on the inside. It's rather small. It's not that big, but it's a nice spot to go on Friday nights. We left a little bit early because we wanted to go to Onyx. I don't have any sound, by the way, on this. So Onyx, this is what Onyx looks like on the inside. Now this Onyx is lit. I mean, if you can't tell by this video, then the nightlife in the Gambia can be on like the next level. By the way, if you guys are joining on Instagram Live and you want to see what I'm presenting on the screen, you can either watch the replay or click on the link in my description. It says, join me live now. That'll take you directly to this video so you can watch along with this. Sorry, the link in my profile, and at the top, there's a button up there that says join me on YouTube Live now. Click on that. But yeah, so Makasutu was interesting. We had some peanut stew, which they call Demora, or Demora. It's like our granite soup, but it's different. It's different. I would say it's different. And then they also had Benachin, their own version of Benachin, which I think the Gambians have a little bit of a different version of Benachin than the Senegalese. It's kind of like jollof rice. I'll have to say, as of right now, the Gambians, they have not broken top two in the jollof rice wars discussions that I understand it to be. We'll see what Senegal does when I go to Senegal next. But yeah, I would say that the Benachin and the peanut stew can't touch Sierra Leone's. Sorry, it can't. Okay, so a couple quick things. Spear Warrior says might have to listen to the audio book for Roots. Yeah, I'm an audiobook listener too. It might be a good idea to definitely listen to it. aSlimtube says the Gambia intrigues me. It's on my to-do list. It helps that English is spoken there. Yes, it does. It definitely helps that English is spoken there. Any English-speaking country, obviously, if you're coming from an English-speaking country, is a little bit easier. I have a friend that's in Senegal right now as we speak, and one of their major challenges as a group is understanding things because it's mostly in French and Wolof, and they do not speak French. So the Gambia is a little bit easier to navigate because they speak English in the Gambia. And so the next day, my mother always calls when I'm on live. Hilarious. The next day, we went to Katchically Crocodile Pool and Abuko Nature Reserve. As you can see, I pet a crocodile, which is different. I would say I've never anticipated ever doing that. And that it was tired. It probably looks like it's dead. It was tired because it had just eaten. That's the only time you want to touch a crocodile is after it's already eaten because it's not moving. These things were fattened up. I also went in and saw some hyenas. That I want to show you guys because that was pretty scary. We went inside this cage. I was super nervous. I was not prepared to go see some hyenas, but when in the Gambia, you do as the Gambians do. So we went ahead and opened this up, and we went inside. So this is inside the cage where they keep the hyenas. Look how, and they were big too. They look like big dogs. Obviously, if you ever seen The Lion King or if you ever watch Discovery Channel, you know what hyenas do. They cackle, and they're scavengers. These were a little tired, which I'm grateful for because we got pretty close. And I have a wide lens on, so you can't see how close we are, but we were within 10 feet, less than 10 feet, like 5 feet of these hyenas. really scary. And they started walking towards us, and I'm like, hey. This point right here, I was not excited about being in there. He started walking close to us, and I was like, man, I'm trying to keep it on camera. I couldn't even keep it on camera. He got really close. And the guy was like, calm down. I'm like, you telling me to calm down? You let the hyena get close. I'm not trying to calm down. Stay between us and the hyena, please. But I think he was just, you see everybody getting scared and moving away. So that was scary. And this guy was like, just calm down. It's okay. I'm like, yeah, you do this every day. This is your everyday life. This is my first and probably my last time ever going to be in this close proximity to a hyena. But he was feeding it some water. And, this guy, they call him Green because he's into farming. And he loves to be out in the green in the forest. So he's one with nature, and he can talk to these animals, and they're all good with him. But I don't know, not me. I wasn't trying to get too close. But anyway, that was the experience with the hyenas. Never in my life had I ever been that close to a hyena, whether in a zoo or in person. But he was here. He was telling me to give my phone to the other tour guide so he could take it and go hang out with the hyenas. So they actually got pretty close. And we're hanging out with the hyenas. And yeah, I was like, I'm not going to hang out this close. So I ended up leaving, but he took some more footage. Anyway, so that was the day. But I will say this, though. And then, so that was at the Abuko Nature Reserve. Earlier in the day, that was the Katchically Crocodile Pool. Before we went into the Katchically Crocodile Pool, we listened to a story about FGM. I've talked about this before on the live, female genital mutilation, and then male circumcision. And the history of it in the Gambia is complicated and brutal. If you talk to folks who've had it done, they talk about it in two different ways. One, they talk about it in a way where it's a brutal practice. And on the other side, they talk about it as it is a way of becoming an adult. So the guys we were talking to spoke about it from the male perspective. So the same way, well, not the same exact way, but the same concept of male circumcision in the West is the same concept of male circumcision in the Gambia historically. And the way they do it though was very different historically. So any of the people, the tour guide was probably in his 40s. So it's all the female FGM has been outlawed in the Gambia completely. Some people still practice it off to the side, but it's been outlawed. The male circumcision has been changed from how they were doing it before to hospitals. But let me walk you through what we learned that day, because I was blown away by how it worked, and I'm not a fan of what they would do. So there's this whole idea of you becoming an adult, right? And so the boys would think they're going off to what is like the equivalent to a summer camp, and they think they're going to be dancing, and it's going to be a party, and it's this ritual for how to become a man. There are a lot of different things you learn throughout this process, right? They teach you how to respect your elders, but not only respecting your elders, respecting other people and treating everyone with respect, right? And so on one hand, that's the way the people like to look at it, right? This practice was taught to us to make sure we treat everyone with respect, and especially our elders. On the other hand, there's a brutal process, which in fact, this is what they do. So there are men there. Women are not allowed to go. Same thing on the other way around. As far as with women, men are not allowed to go. But you go, and you are of the impression that you are going to be celebrating, and it's going to be a party. There are drummers drumming, there's dancing happening, and then at some point it stops, and then one boy at a time is taken off to the side. And when they take you off, the kids know the party's over when the first boy gets there and he starts screaming from the pain. So what they do is they take scissors, and they cut the foreskin without any local anesthetic, without anything, just straight scissors, cut it just like that. And you're probably a young teenager, 12 to 14 at this time, if I'm not mistaken. And so you fully remember and fully feel it, and you are still healing for like 3 weeks afterwards. Some people get infections, some kids die through this process. And so it's a practice that they haven't really practiced as much as of recent, but this was a common practice. And this is something they talked about. So like when you get to the museum, before you get to the crocodile pond, you get to the museum, they talk about this. There's a painting of a crying boy on the wall there. And it's like, this is, and this is explaining that this is where people used to come for this practice. And so it was wild. It was wild to see, like, this is how things went down. And I'm happy that they no longer do it. But yeah, that was an interesting experience to hear about that. That was next level. I don't know, man. That was something that I didn't expect to hear. I didn't know that was coming, so I wasn't prepared for it. So when it happened, I was just like floored. But I got all of it on video, and all of it will be vlogged. So don't worry, you guys will get a chance to kind of hear the full story from those who actually talked us through it and took us there. You'll get a chance to actually see footage of me petting this crocodile in real time and everything else that happened. You also get the nightlife. I do want to show a couple of clips. So these are clips from the nightlife out. So this here is Envy. The next night we went to Envy. So this is what Envy looks like. By the way, I will say Envy, man, they don't play. They come out to party. So I love the Gambians and how they get down, because we were there till 5 a.m. and this is open till 7 a.m. in the morning, 7 a.m. And so they do play all kinds of music. This was a little bit of Pop Smoke, so I was in my rap bag right there. But then you see the crowd, and it was packed. By the way, it was, you can't even, this isn't like how packed it got. This is probably about 1 a.m. People were still coming till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. When we were walking out at 5, there were still people coming in. And so, but you get a chance to see a little bit of what the crowd looked like there. I will say there are a lot of beautiful people in the Gambia, and we enjoyed ourselves for sure. And I'll leave it at that. But I definitely recommend, if you go to the Gambia, you might need a palate cleanser, right? After a day like that, where we were talking about what we talked about, it was nice to go out and like celebrate and have a good time a little bit, to kind of like get your mind off of that, because that was wild what we heard. And same thing with the day before, after going to those ruins, and then that night being able to go out and get like a palate cleanser. I thought it was important. All right, a couple of comments that I want to get to. 24 said hyenas will eat you alive, referring to the hyenas, and they could. I'm so glad that they didn't. Traverze Culture is here. What's up? I love how you're breaking down every day down, so we feel like we're with you. I'm glad you feel that way. I'm going to do a whole vlog where I do a better job of going through it. But I did just want to kind of give you guys the highlights, so you know what my week was like. Because everybody was like, why aren't you going live on Monday? And I wanted to make sure you guys knew why. This was why, because this is what I was doing all week last week. And so, as I mentioned, and by the way, Traverse, this is the group that I'm traveling to Kenya with, who I'm going to be talking to next Monday about that trip. And so, I'm going to be doing something very similar to this with that trip to Kenya. And same thing, I'm going to be vlogging it and have a ton of content that I'll be shooting while I'm in Kenya. So you guys be on the lookout for that, because this is going to be good. So I'm looking forward to sharing all that with you guys when I go. All right. So that was Saturday, July 1st. So Sunday, July 2nd was a busy day. I did 2 hotel tours. And then I also went to another hotel, and I went to a brunch. And then what was this? All right, guys. So I'm about to. I also had lunch at 3 Chicks, which the food was really good there. I had a mushroom burger. Next level, very good. Next, mushroom and bean burger, which I never anticipated I was gonna have that in the Gambia, but this Three Chicks and a grill restaurant was really good. So I started my day with a tour.
All right, guys, we are in SeneGambia,
the hotel that I was staying in, and so that's just a little clip from the hotel. Then I went to Tamala Resort. That's the brunch. As you can see, place was packed. A lot of people come to this brunch. It's $1,500, which is basically the currency there is called a dollar C. And it's about 60 to 63 times the dollar. So if you change $100, it's basically 6,300 C's you get back. And when you change your money the other way, they go higher, $65 C's, because you're buying dollars back. It's just how it works. So you lose a little bit of money. Then I went to SeneGambia hotel, where some of the people on the group were going to the spa. They did a bunch of different spa activities. They got manicures, pedicures, facials, massages, some kind of scrub. I don't know what you call those scrubs. The scrubs. They did all that stuff. And then I interviewed our tour guide, who was amazing. Her name is Juliet, and the tours she does is called J-Glitz, Events and Tours. And so she was really good at really kind of helping us put this whole thing together. And then lastly, I went to Three Chicks.
Started testing this food. I'm looking forward to it. So let's first start with this mushroom burger, mushroom and bean burger. It's pretty aggressive. There's a lot on it. So I'm trying to keep everything inside of it. Let's go.
Yo, no shame in my game. I eat in public. I mean, I eat in front of the camera.
That was really good.
But it was really good.
Really good.
I'm telling you, that was really good. That was the best food I had in the Gambia. So anyway, I have a whole vlog on that too. The food that I ate, where we ate, all of that. That's all coming. So you'll definitely get a chance to see that. And how I ate while being vegan in the country, because that was challenging. And then day 8 was the last day. And this is actually a picture from Visit Sierra Leone's Instagram page. This was the crew minus Bimbala, the founder and CEO. This was us at the airport on our way to our flight yesterday. This was yesterday. So yeah, last minute packing, had to do some videos. So I did 10 mistakes you should avoid before going to the Gambia. I'm going to put that out shortly. I did a day-by-day rundown, something like this, but way more detailed, with way more footage. And then I do the nightlife video while I was there. And then there's some other videos that I'm going to do specifically to each of the individual days and vlogs that went along with those days. Those are going to be coming in the coming weeks as well. So that was the trip. That was the 8 days. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, that was a great time. I really loved it. Okay, so Prowoman J says Juliet from Blackzit. Was it the Blackzit tour? No, her name was Juliet, not Juliet, but Juliet. And she has her own company called J-Glitz. She actually used to do, or still does, events mostly. That's really what she mostly does, like birthday parties, romantic getaways, things like that. But then she added tours to her to her repertoire of things that she does. So definitely recommend her if you go to the Gambia. Obviously, there are other tour companies there as well, but she was really good because she added the nightlife element, which is something that I have not seen from other folks. And we had a great time. All right, cool. That was my trip to the Gambia. I did a little bit about the differences. I talked a little bit about what each day was like. Any questions, comments, or thoughts? There were a couple people that wanted to go live with me. There were a couple requests to go live. Let me see if anybody still wants to go live. Does anybody still want to go live with me? Let me see if there's any questions and comments from anybody else. Sorry, guys, on Instagram. Let's see if there's anybody on IG that I missed. Any questions, guys? No questions, huh? You guys are usually full of questions. Oh, Flight to Film asked me if I miss Ghana yet. Do I miss Ghana? I do miss Ghana. There's a couple things about Ghana I miss. I just realized my shirt's open. I do. There are a couple things I do miss about Ghana. Wow, what do I miss about Ghana? I miss a lot, actually. Specifically, some people in particular, Masa and Kenya. You know, shout out to you too. I miss you guys. I miss some other people, which I'm not going to shout out by name, but you know who you are. You watch the lives, so you guys know who you are. And my boy, my guys, Chima and Luke and that whole crew, and then also Isaac, my guy Isaac Newton. Really good people I met there. Lots of like great conversations about how we move and progress on the continent, and lots of work that people are doing in that respect. And so we had a lot of great conversations and a lot of great networking that came along with those folks. And then of course the social life element. There were some elements of my social life in Ghana that I do miss. I will not speak too much more about that. If you're interested in that, you can go back and watch the lives that I've done on dating in Ghana. You've already heard about that, but we're moving on from that. No more talking about that. Those are gonna be the last times you ever hear anything about that. Okay. A lot of people joined the live. Not a lot of questions though. Any more questions before we go? We can bring this thing to a close if there are no more questions. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. I'm trying to go through the Instagram comments. There's so many comments, or so many people who had joined. I don't know if there are many comments. Everybody at least jumped on for at some period of time. Okay. Oh, yeah. Spear Warrior is asking a question. Is the no guest allowed rule enforced? How do I answer that question? I will say that, put it this way. Okay, so this is coming from, so last Monday I went live and I mentioned that there were interesting rules that they gave us. Sorry, last Tuesday I went live and I had mentioned that there were interesting rules that they gave us the night before when we checked in. It's not easy to know who actually is a guest and who's not, right? So I would say that obviously follow the rules, but it's not easy to know who's a guest and who's not. So that's what I do know to be true. That's kind of anywhere. That's anywhere. But I would say if a hotel has rules, follow the rules. Put it that way. But good question, Spear Warrior. All right. Any other questions for me, guys, before we go? I'm going to call it a night on this if there are no more questions. It has been a crazy day trying to just get acclimated to being back and dealing with the light outages, of course, which is a regular occurrence here in Sierra Leone. But just another reminder, if for those of you who don't remember this part of the discussion, next Monday, I will be going live with the one and only Kia/Wakesho. I don't know if you can see it on the screen here. Oh, let's add the stream. So make sure you tune in next Monday for the conversation with Wakesho. We're going to talk about all things Afrocentric and regenerative travel. And we're going to talk about a little bit about her business, Traverze Culture, and some of the other tours that she's doing, and how you can join us specifically on this trip to Kenya. You don't want to miss this conversation, so make sure you tune in next Monday. And then, of course, another reminder for this week, make sure you check out all these videos. This past Sunday, we did the ballin' parties. Thursday, I got the interview with Hectoria. And then next Sunday, we got the behind-the-scenes vlog of the Bambade concert. So make sure you check it out. Graphics says power to the people. Yes, power to the people. Dang, I missed it. You did miss the live, but there's always a replay. There's always a replay, so you can catch the replay. I see some other people joined. Shout out to MDD. joining. All right, cool. So I think this is it, guys. I want to thank you guys all for joining. No questions, no comments, no thoughts. I think we're bringing it to an end, to a close. I want to thank you guys all for joining. As always, I appreciate it. If you know anybody planning to go to the Gambia and has any questions about what it might be like, or who they should be reaching out to, especially if they're going to be leaving from Sierra Leone, then all that information from VSL is going to be in the description. If you want to know about tour guides, if you're flying from, and hotels to stay in, if you're flying from the States to the Gambia, I also have I'll have some information on that in the replay in the description as well, when the replay goes up and live. And that'll be on YouTube. If you're following along on Instagram, you're just going to have to click over to the YouTube video to get all the details. And with that, guys, I want to thank you all once again for joining. As always, it's always a pleasure to have you, and I'm always happy to see you guys here. So without further ado, we're going to bring this to a close. Thanks for watching. See you all on the next video.